Hi, everybody. Good morning. And well, now it's almost good afternoon. And today we have Elizabeth with us. I want y'all to meet Elizabeth. We just recently connected, and I just love her story. She is like, I am a thriver in what she's doing. So I'm hoping to have her back again and continue to talk about rebuilding life after surviving domestic abuse and becoming a thriver. And so today we will be talking more about children, but I wanted her to introduce herself.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Lauren. I really appreciate it and appreciate having a chance to give back and encourage some other people here. So yeah, my name's Elizabeth, and I like to say I'm not a victim. I'm not even a survivor. I'm a thriver. And yes, I've gone through some hell, as I know we all have. But I prefer to focus much more on the here and now and the second chance at life that God has given me and all of us. And I'm very, very thankful for the life that God's given me, and really like to focus on the testimony that is.
I love that. And we were just talking briefly before we came on here. Like I love the aspect of being a thriver, because so many times, like if we live in the victim mentality, we just can't move forward and we can't
Mhm.
move past what's happening. And so I feel like that's how come you're thriving, is because you let it go and realize that this does not define you in life. Like you're moving forward in your parenting and with your job, and just God has really opened some incredible doors because of your faithfulness to him and working through things and moving on. So I'm excited to talk to you more about that today.
Thank you.
A lot of the moms who are watching this are also dealing with children in the aftermath of surviving domestic abuse. And that's really difficult. That sometimes can hold us back, I feel like, from thriving forward, and can easily come into the place, I feel like, of being in a victim mentality. And a lot of women get stuck there. So let's talk today. What does it look like being a thriver as a mother when you're parenting through things that are really challenging and really, really hard? So I was just curious, what comfort would you give mothers today who are maybe struggling with children they're isolated from? Maybe their children are siding with the person who abused them and who is emotionally destructive. What would you say to them?
Yeah, good question. And I can say that I definitely can empathize with you. I've been through it. My children have both been extremely parentally alienated and disaffected from me. Yes, I've learned those terms very, very well, to the point that the court actually noted it quite extremely, in terms of the way that it happened. And I would say, here's the thing. We are human beings. We have feelings. We live in a body. We have a spirit. We love God, right? So your feelings are very valid. They're very real. And I think the one danger I would say is don't keep your feelings in. You got to have a safe space of people around you that you can vent to. It is okay to be mad at God. There were times I was mad at God and I let God know how I feel. But what I did is I let that anger and I let that go and I let it out. And then what I did is I gave that to him then to work on, right? I kind of came to the end of myself. Here's the thing. And one truth that God shared with me, quite a few truths. He said, Elizabeth, I care about you as much as I care about your kids. So as much as it hurts me and us, right, to see our kids go through what they're going through, the extreme anguish, parental alienation, disaffection. Some of you probably haven't seen your kids. I haven't seen my son for 5 years, just to let you know. So I do understand the anguish. And God said, just as much as he cares about our kids, he cares about us and our life. We are God's children, right? So the way that it hurts our hearts to see our children go through this, it hurts God's heart to see us go through this, and we are God's children. So he wants us to get back out there in life no matter what is going on. And my counselor and a very good family member of mine, my brother, told me about 5 years ago, he said, Elizabeth, the best way to get back at this, not that I'm trying to get back at a person, right, at my ex or a lawyer or whoever it is, it's the enemy, right, influencing people, is to go on and live a happy, healthy life. Mic drop. Right? When I heard that, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. There's no way I can go on and live a happy, healthy life. I can't go on till I get my kids back, till this stops, till all these accusations stop. But you know what? That was the best piece of advice I ever got. And God sharing with me that I care about you and your life just as much as your kids right now. So obviously we can get into that a little bit more, but I just want you to know that there is hope. I have 2 children. I have not seen my son in 5.5 years, but we are communicating now, thankfully, and I do have full custody of my daughter as well.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's Oh, I can't imagine, just going through different things, walking through that. And that is so true. Like so many times as mothers, we can get caught up in that. And until we get this right, we can't move on. But
Hmm.
really, our identity is so much more than being mothers. Ultimately, we love our children, but our identity is not found in there. But we can find our identity in Christ and do great things
Yes.
for Him still and move forward. I
Yes.
love that.
I
Thank you
think
so
Yeah, and to add one more thing to that too, I think sometimes we think that we're not successful unless our kids are with us or they love us or they're saying that they love us. And God had to show me you're not successful in life or accepted by me if your kids are with you or not with you, or let's say they like you right now or don't like you. We're not defined by that in terms of how we are loved by God or how we are successful in life, because there's a lot of things obviously outside of our control, going through this. So,
Wow, that's really good. And I feel like that's such an important lesson to learn. It's hard in our Christian communities because so many times we are defined as women. We're told, some people here in this, especially in conservative Christianity, that our dignity and worth is found in being a wife and mother. And to lose both those things
mhm.
and not have look the way we want can really hold us back and limit us in life. But realizing that's a lie that we've been fed, and our identity and worth is in feeling what God called us to do, and whether that's being a wife and mother full time or whether that's not. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think we'll get into some more questions. I'll be able to expand a little bit more, but yeah.
Awesome. Um, what gets you through as a mother on really tough days?
I would say on the really tough days, and I will tell you, I do understand, like I said, parental alienation, disaffection. I have not had an I love you or a hug from my daughter in probably about 5 years. So there's some tough days. Absolutely. Is remembering God's unconditional love for us. I think that God has shown me, you know what? Just like you don't always get an I love you or hug, or in this case, I haven't, for 5 years from my daughter. um, think about all the people that I love right now that don't want to have anything to do with me, and I still love them. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, that is unconditional love. And I'm not going to be God. We're not going to be God, right? But realizing that He's bringing us up several levels in terms of learning unconditional love. And does it hurt? Yeah, love hurts, definitely. And I think, when I was in the domestic violence and abuse, I learned to keep everything in and not share things, not share my feelings. But again, it goes back to having a very strong support system around you, that people you can share the anguish with, you can share the hurt, and you're not afraid of the judgment. You got to share how much you're hurting. You got to cry on the floor sometimes. I've seen my share of carpet and tears and mascara all over the carpet, just so you know. So
Yeah.
um, you got to just remember that you got to learn to love your children unconditionally. God is leading you up another level. And one thing that I told God in my anguish is, Lord, even if this doesn't help my kids right now, and I don't see it, I want you to use this pain for me to help other people and propel me into the life that you do have for me to help other people. So it's kind of like seeing that pain as fuel, right? That God can use the pain and the anguish. He can turn things around and use things for good. He can turn anything around and use it for good. So you got to have a determination and allow Him to use that pain and show you how He's going to use that. Again, vent, share, but then say, you know what, use this for good. Show me how to use this for good. Peel yourself back up off that floor. And I think it's okay to be vulnerable with our kids sometimes. Obviously, we can't share a lot of, what's going on. They don't, depending on their age, they don't understand a lot of that. Someday then when they're adults, I'm sure we'll have very different conversations, but I think it's okay to be vulnerable with our kids and show some tears, show some sadness. We don't even get into the why, right? But they need to see that we're human because they're going through it too. And they need to be able to safely express their emotions, even if they can't share it with us, right? They can't share, well, I was told, to hate you. And my daughter in this case has, she's like, well, I was told this from Mom for many years. And I'm like, I know you were, and I love you. And
Wow.
not judging her. Does it hurt? It does, right? It sure hurts. But again, venting, asking God to use it for good, and showing some vulnerability with your kids, but with those around you, is very, very important.
Wow. Yes. And I love what you said about using it as fuel to propel you to
Mm-hmm.
help other people. That is really powerful. Is that even in this pain, God uses it for good
Mm-hmm.
and to help other people, to draw us closer to Him. And even this is not wasted.
Yeah, don't let it keep you down. That's what it's meant to do, is keep you down. It's okay to feel down, to feel sad, but don't let it keep you down. That's what it's meant to do. There's other people you can help. God can make you stronger out of this. I insisted to God. I'm like, God, you got to use this. You make me stronger through this. I can't just have this pain and not be propelled in my life and be able to help other people. It's too hard, so I'm like, you got to use this.
Absolutely. Thank you. Wow. So that leads me to my next question. How do you fill yourself with his love so that it can flow out of you as you love your children? Like there's, I would love to hear that process.
Yeah, I would say one of my key verses that the Lord gave me when I left domestic violence and abuse about 7 years ago was John 10:10b, which says that He came to give us life, and life more abundantly, to the full, to overflows. And God had to define that verse to me in terms of, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my life right now? Right. And the way that I keep myself full and in a good place, which I don't want to say I'm always in a good place, right? Because we're human, and sometimes I've got my network around me that I've got to vent to, and I'm like, I'm having a bad day. I'm not feeling good. I don't want to go on. I want to give up. And saying those things, right? I want to give up. I want to do those. Then it loses its power, right? When you share it with someone. But one of the things that God has showed me is that when I go on with my life and I go enjoy my life, I am a testimony to people around me. And that makes me feel encouraged, because the people around me know what I've been through. They know the hell that I've been through. They know. They can't maybe understand it all, but they know. A lot of them have sat in court with me, right? A lot of them have written numerous letters of reference and things for me. So for me, and this is going to sound very simple, I love to paddleboard. I love to
Me
go
too.
hiking. I have a Jeep Wrangler that I take the top off of in the summer, and I go driving out in the country, and I
Yes.
get it muddy, and I sing at the top of my lungs. Sometimes I cry at the top of my lungs. But it's just simple things like that they do something for me, for my soul, which then affects my emotions, right? Where my daughter, my friends, that's been one of the things they have told me is, Elizabeth, you should just be sitting at home alone in your room, just in complete despair and grief. How are you not doing that? I'm like, oh yeah, the temptation's there to do that. Absolutely. But I allow the emotion to come out. I vent and I go back out and I enjoy life. And I believe that showing people that I can get back out there, no matter how you feel, no matter if with your kids are with you or not, no matter if I'm being accused to CPS, which I lost my kids to false accusations with CPS. I'm still going to go out there and enjoy my life. It sounds counterintuitive and not right, but it does something for me. My counselor told me the same thing. She's like, you got to get out there and start enjoying your life. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What do you mean? But for me, being out on the middle of a lake on my paddleboard, something about that with water and just being out there. And my daughter knows. She'll be like, okay, Mom, you're going paddleboarding. And how long will you be gone? Yep. She knows this does something for me. She probably sees a difference, right? When I come back.
Yeah.
She
I do
does.
the same thing.
Do you? Yeah.
I have a paddleboard. That's my happy place.
That is my happy place. Yep, totally understand, girl. Like, there's something about that. And for me, it's like just driving my Jeep with the top off. And my daughter's like, Mom, but my hair. I'm like, I could care less about our hair right now. Let's just enjoy this, So it's just learning to laugh again and enjoy life is huge. That fills you up. That fills your tank up to be that strong person and love your kids and go through what we all are going through, which is hell often for many years.
Oh, wow. Yes, I love that so much. That's just so practical. Like anybody can do this. I felt low on Saturday. I didn't have my daughter for the day, and it was like just gut wrenching. And I felt sorry for myself for an hour. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go paddleboarding. And I went out and paddleboard. I got together with a friend for dinner, and I had a wonderful day. And just getting out there and be like, nope, I'm not sitting here. I'm not thinking about this. I'm out. And I love that.
I love it.
My dream is to own a Jeep Wrangler, so you're a girl after my own heart.
Well, and I'll tell you, I got bright green because I'm like, I am so excited about living life again. And my license plate actually says live because of John 10:10b. I got the license because I wanted that to be a testimony that, like, I'm living. No matter what is happening in my life, no matter what's being said about my kids, I am going to get out there and live. I'm not letting this keep me down.
Wow. It's a very much, I can tell it's a very much conscious choice. It's like we're presented with a choice, choose life or choose death.
Yes.
And we can make the choice.
Yep. the Bible says that we can choose life or we can choose death, and it can affect our kids, right? And it's a conscious choice every day that you make emotionally, you make physically, you make practically with what you're going to do and how you're going to, not how you're going to feel. We're going to feel how we feel. That's valid, right? But what you're going to do beyond those feelings. What are you going to do? You know?
Yes. Thank you so much. And that helps me and others, I'm sure, as a survivor, that allows us to feel in control. Like we've so many times have felt out of control of so many things,
Yeah.
but this is something we can be in control of and we can choose. And I
You,
love, thank
yeah.
you. That's
You
really
can't dictate.
awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You're in control of that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Wow, that was so good. And then I have another question. What truths or promises have been specifically helpful to you in parenting and in just in loving life?
I would say I got to go back to John 10:10 and enjoy life. And I know it sounds simple, but really that guides me every day, you
Mhm.
know? And one thing I wanted to share too, a lot of people share this with me, which you all have probably heard, but oftentimes when our kids are hard on us, or maybe they're, acting out, it's because we're safe, right? And I had to learn that, you know what, I might get the brunt of some anger and some things that my kids are going through, but it's because they know I'm safe and I'm not going to hurt them. Does it hurt me, right? To hear some of it, and experience some of the behavior? Yeah, it does. But I'm trying to remember, well, they know that I'm not going to abuse them, right? I'm not going to yell at them. I'm not going to do any of maybe what they've seen in the past. So I think trying to remember that. And then also one thing that people told me 5 or 6 years ago was like, you just got to have hope. When your kids get older, they'll start seeing it. I'm like, if one more person tells me to have hope and then they're going to see it. Like I was mad, I remember being mad. I'm like, I don't want people telling me what the future is going to be. I want help right now. Here I am, fast forward 5 years. And I'm like, you know what? There is hope, and I remember at some point God telling, and I told God, I don't feel like I can have hope. I have been so hurt and I'm so angry right now with everything going on and the injustice and everything that I'm like, I don't feel like I can have hope. And God's like, then have hope in the hope I have for you and your kids. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, okay. All right. I think I can do that. Right. Like it felt too hard to try to trust and want to have hope because I'd been disappointed so much. Right. And crushed and the anguish and hurt that I'm like, I don't even want to have hope anymore. I just want to think the worst. And God's like, oh, no, just have hope in the hope that I have for you and your kids. And I'm like, okay, I think I can hold on to that. I think I can hold on to that. Deep breath, And now I look at where I'm at without getting into too many details, and I've, got my daughter, thankfully, and she's safe. And my son, has started coming around and reaching out. I got a happy Mother's Day, a happy birthday. Never thought I would see that, and he's 18 now, right? He's getting a little bit older. He's seeing things in a different way. But there is hope. And if you don't feel like you can have hope, that you've been so crushed, just remember God has hope for you and your situation and your kids, and grasp on to the hope that he has for you. And that'll do something for you. That'll carry you.
Yes. Wow. He's our strength and our hope, even when we think we
Mm-hmm.
have none.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes we just can't predict the future, and that is very hard, and it's not helpful to survivors. And you're like, oh yes, they'll see some days. I mean, sadly, I know mothers far along down the road, and their kids don't see. And I mean, we can hope that they do, but we
Mm-hmm.
can't base our hope on that. And when they do see that, we'll feel that hope. But it's moving forward and just saying, I don't know the future, but I can trust God.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I think that's so, so important. Yeah.
wow. And my final question is, what hope would you give to mothers today that are watching this?
I would say, you know what, anything is possible. And I think the hope that I would really want to inspire people in is that no matter what happens to our kids, again, I know it's hard, and no matter what we all go through, you have a second chance at life that God's given you. And he expects you to value and cherish that just as much as you do your kids. And I think it sounds counterintuitive, like, well, I'm being selfish, right? And why should I? Like, I've been on vacation by myself. I went on vacation by myself to Hawaii last year, and it was amazing, and it's just like, I think when you realize you have a life to live and you can get out there and enjoy life, it just it does some healing for you. It strengthens you so that when you do need to get back in the thick of it, right, with whatever it is, court or your kids or situations, you've got you've had some breathing room, right? You have had a chance to have your soul filled, right? And then get out there and enjoy life. The other thing that I would say is surround yourself with good people. And you probably know that, but don't keep yourself back from developing new relationships and friendships with people, because one of the things that happened for me is I was able to, get out there and enjoy life. And I got so many friendships, that I found that these friendships helped me see who I was and who God was trying to say, this is who you are. Not what court is saying who you are, not what CPS is saying who you are. This is who you are. And it was those friendships in my life that helped me to see my identity that God and saw all along, but we've been beaten down. We couldn't see that. So when you get those relationships and you start enjoying life, it starts to tip the scales, right? Where there's still going to be things that are said about you and things that you're going to go through that are hard, but you've got so much wealth in relationships and enjoying life that what's said about you and what you're going through doesn't give as much definition or credence or hurt, to you anymore. Very, very important. I had no idea that would happen, but it did. It's like a scale getting tipped. So, when things get said about me, I'm like, I know all these people over here that know me. God's shown me who I am. No, thank you. You can say it, but it doesn't have the power that it once did.
Wow. I thank you so much for sharing all that. That gives me a renewed sense of hope. And I know so many other women watching, you're giving them so much hope and so much life that you can hope to have a new life, that you can start over. And like, you're a living example of that. And we haven't even touched on this, but I want to interview you at some time and talk about the career that you started over and what you've done. So we'll be having you back to talk about that sometime soon. So it's so possible to rebuild and to start over and pursue new passions and things and find joy and fulfillment in things that we really weren't allowed to do before or just didn't have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
And it's deeply fulfilling about finding yourself and who you truly are through all the pain.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to having you back soon. So if y'all have any questions, you can leave them in the comments and I will send them to her later and she can respond, or either I can respond. So all y'all have a wonderful day and thank you for joining us over your lunch break. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.